Hey, howdy friends. My name is Brian. This is BMAD Photo. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to go for a walk in this winter wonderland that is the forest preserve near my house and just do some macro photography where we're going to do a little bit of an experiment today. Well, I'm going all the way to f22, the extent of this lens, and I'm going to test out just how good or bad of an image I can get doing single shot, not bracketing, not stacking, macro shots at 1:1. What is the most you'll put your aperture down to, or your f-stop, right? Are you going to stop down and keep it at f8, f10? Or do you also experiment, with pushing the limits of your lens and going up to f22? Let me know in the comments. I am really curious, how bad is diffraction? What are its effects, and when does it really make it so we end up with images that are just totally unusable? I know that sounds crazy, right? f22, what about diffraction? What about diffraction? Going above f13, that's crazy. Going to f22 is definitely going to give me a deeper depth of field. And we're talking about macro photography at 1:1 or 2:1 on this lens. It just gives such a narrow plane of focus that it's hard to get much in focus. And when you're shooting insects, a lot of times at 1:1, if you're at f8 or f10, you might get the whole eyeball in focus of a small insect, like a bee. But if it's not on a flat plane with the lens, that's about all you're getting in focus. But it's a great time to get out and just practice and experiment, so I can really learn the extents of what this lens is capable of. And who knows, this experiment we're doing, we might find out that f22 on this premium pro 90mm macro from OM Systems might be perfectly acceptable. Obviously, f8 is going to give something sharper. But here's the thing, when you're post-processing your shots later, you can use noise reduction and you can use sharpening and recover potentially from the effects of diffraction, but you cannot recover your plane of focus, make that deeper in post-processing. Here's the deal. We're going to test out f22. We're going to go back and see if the images are acceptable. They don't have to be perfect, but are they acceptable? And then can we further post-process them to where they are definitely acceptable and could potentially be a game changer for our macro photography when it gets to be insect season. I'm going to put the camera in manual focus. So we can see on this lens I can pull it back. We'll go to 1:1 right there, leave it there. We are in macro, got image stabilization on. And I'm checking my camera settings right now. And we are at, I'm rolling it all the way up to f22. And I'm getting about 1/125th of a second. All right. So let's walk down the trail and see if we can find some more subjects to shoot. It's, right now I do have it at f22. ISO is in auto, so it is going up to ISO 3200. You know what? That's going to also add some noise to our photos, so that might be hard to tell if it's diffraction or not. But this will be a good test for the noise reduction and the potential diffraction. So we're still at 1:1 macro, and since I am in manual focus, I'm going to do the rocking back and forth technique. So there's a branch here with some beautiful beads of water hanging off the bottom, and those are great abstract macro subjects for close-up macros. So I'm just looking at the screen here, and when it's in focus I will take the shots. came back here specifically because I saw some berries hanging on a bush, or hanging off the tree kind of over into the path. And there are droplets of water on them. So these will make for some nice macro shots, and they're also pretty stationary. If you just listen to what everybody says, don't shoot above f8, don't shoot above f10, well, you might find that, that just doesn't apply anymore, or it doesn't apply for you. Maybe a little bit of, a little less sharpness, maybe that's perfectly fine for you and what you're going for. It's your artistic vision that matters. So, don't be afraid to experiment and do a similar experiment to what I'm doing. So get out there and try seeing what the extents of your different lenses are and how they perform at different apertures, at different f-stops, and then getting a little out of breath. It is cold out here. But then, go back and also see what can you recover in post-processing that makes it, acceptable for you. Because I'll tell you, if you can avoid doing bracketing and stacking and get a lot of your subject in focus when you're doing macro, the deeper focus you can get in macro at 1-to-1 range or close to that, I think the happier you're going to be with your subjects. Here's a tree branch that is pretty much eye level with me. So this is a great spot to try out doing some f22 macro photography, even if the shutter speed is not going to be super fast. With the high ISO at 3200, I think this will still give us just an interesting chance to see, can we shoot high ISO and a high f number, or a stop down lens, and get acceptable macro shots. Let's find out. And we are now chilling on the beach. It's I wouldn't say I'm ready to sit out here and sunbathe in a Speedo, but beautiful, just a beautiful view. Look at this. Unbelievable. Sometimes I'm out to make art, and sometimes it's more about just the science and engineering and learning what my lenses are capable of. And sometimes I'm out doing both, but today is more of a not so scientific, but experiment, if you will, so I can figure out the limits of my own lens and where I'm comfortable stopping down with it. All right, let's head back now, and we're gonna jump into the studio and check out these photos, see what they look like at f22, totally unedited, and then we'll do some edits on them, and we'll see what this experiment produced. Were we able to get some decent macro shots that we would actually call keepers, acceptable, and not destroyed? Let's get in the studio and check it out.